And I think over time, college degrees have been changing. Do you have any thoughts on, if they're changing and why they're changing and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's funny
what the
because
future
actually
of degrees are?
Jordan Peterson even talks about this a little bit. He feels like colleges they're kind of going out of style. Colleges are kind of going out of style the way that they're being taught nowadays. Sorry, I had to adjust this. Oh, yeah, that's way better. Yeah, that's way better. All right, yeah. So Jordan Peterson's talking about it. He was talking about it, and I've thought about this also for sure. I mean, looking back on college, I mean, so much of it was a waste of time. So much of school in general is a waste of time. They're sitting you down, they're teaching you. I mean, it's like it's good to have a general breadth of knowledge, right? But they spent so many years. I mean, just think about it. You spent 13 years between the ages of 5 and 18, right? 13 years of learning. That's a lot of learning, right? And you got out of it. And when you were done, how much stuff did you actually know? Like, how much could you regurgitate after all that? Could you remember any, like, geometry proofs? Or, like, could you, recall trigonometry? Or, like, how many facts do you know out of your biology class? 1 or 2 facts that you can remember? You spent 13 years. You took biology every year. You took 13 years of biology, and I can remember. I remember photosynthesis. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's all I have to know for 13 years. Mm-hmm. Versus, isn't it funny as an adult? And when I'm interested in the subject, like right now, I'm interested in spirituality, and I'll read a spiritual book, and I remember a lot of that book because I'm interested in it, and I'm going to apply that knowledge right now. Mm-hmm. Right? So we spend 13 years going to school. We're not ready to apply any of that. Mm. So with 13 years of training, what are we prepared to do? Bag groceries and flip burgers. You just barely get an entry-level job straight out of high school at 18 years old, right? Then maybe with some life experience and stuff like that, you'll get a better job. But 13 years of schooling, and that's all you're prepared for? I just feel like they could do way better. They could teach you one trade before you leave high school. It seems it would 1 year of it only takes 1 year to learn how to be a mechanic. It takes 1 year. You can go to coding boot camp in 6 months easily. It takes 1 year to be a dental technician, or all these, a welder. These are all like 1 year trade school programs. Why aren't they teaching that on the way out the door? It just doesn't make any sense. And then so the college degree, it just, continues off of that, basically. You're going to sit in classes for 4 years and you get out of it, you get out of your degree, and you don't really have a whole lot of applicable knowledge. You've learned how to learn. That's what you've done. You've learned how to learn, but you didn't actually learn the actual applicable knowledge. 10% of it's actually applicable, for most of the majors. Some of the majors maybe it's different, but it depends on what field you end up in. But for sure. And so, Jordan Peterson was saying the same thing. Like, it's going to be a different type of school moving forward. I mean, I think it's so much easier. Just learn online. You can just learn online. You got the best teacher. Why you've got, let's say you've got 5,000 colleges in the United States right now, right? 5,000 colleges, 10,000, 20,000 high schools. 20,000 high schools, that means there's 100,000 high school teachers, right? Why would you need 100,000 high school teachers when the best teacher is online? You can just get the best teacher out of every teacher in the world that teaches biology, that one best teacher, and then watch his lectures or her lectures online.
Wow, yeah. Imagine if instead of paying all these teachers, we had a competition every single year for every subject.
Yeah.
And every teacher in the United States, for example, who taught that specific class would compete in creating an agenda for the classroom.
A new curriculum.
And curriculum, and whether it was PowerPoint presentations, would record themselves doing that.
Yeah.
And then whoever was, there could be different competitions. One competition could be purely the information taught. Another competition could be how the information was taught.
Yeah.
The other one could be, who had the best body language and who was the best speaker.
Yeah. Who's the best at conveying
And
this
then one
information?
could be like the best, who is the best at, creating an environment where students could work together and learn from each other.
Yeah.
Different learning techniques involved. Have a competition, and then every person who was able to have a piece of their style implemented in that curriculum got paid a certain amount. Let's say like a big amount, right? Like, you want teachers to get paid more, let's compete them against each other, put them on the internet, and then whatever that best curriculum, best everything, and we'll have the teacher, and they'll just teach. I mean, there probably is studies on that. Like, I don't know. I was always better at learning one-on-one, and I feel like if I took a class on my laptop, it kind of felt like it was one-on-one.
Right.
I could really get
I
that
just think
one-on-one.
they need to completely rethink school. I mean, like, so just going off of your idea, one-on-one, why don't they have the 11th graders teach the 10th graders one-on-one? Because the best way to learn is to teach, right? So half the semester you're learning, the other half you're teaching, like I'm just throwing ideas out there, and that's also, you're both learning this way. And so you just keep buddying up the whole way, all the way to the very end. Another way of doing it, like, why not teach a math class and then go do some math, like, teach programming and then code a project. Don't just teach program. Here's algorithm and algorithm and algorithm and algorithm. There needs to be more hands-on applications. Like, where do you actually use this knowledge? It's just a constant bombardment of information, and the only place you're using it is the test. That's the only place you're utilizing this information that you've just spent an entire year on.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, what a waste, like, actually, let's do some calculations. Let's calculate some stuff and do some science projects. There needs to be more projects.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think during COVID, we saw a huge change from people who are going to in-person colleges to doing online college.
Right.
But I think there's something powerful about meeting in person with people versus online.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
No,
there's
there
something
is.
powerful about it.
Especially for kids. I mean, if you're doing everything online at home in your house, it's like, talk about how do you you want to know how to get social anxiety? Like, that's how you get social anxiety.
But Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they both dropped out
Yeah.
and killed it. Elon Musk must have dropped out, right?
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
Yeah.
Graduated?
He
Jeff
graduated.
Bezos, what about him?
But I don't know about Jeff Bezos. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably graduated too.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily about dropping out or graduating or, it would be nice, yeah, if school was so good and it taught you so much that you're ready to go halfway through it's done, before it's done,
I think that so often people go to school wanting to learn something and they come out as an employee, rather than what makes America unique is the fact that we have so many free thinkers here. We've invented things that no one could ever dream to be true.
Yeah.
And we start these new ideas and we somehow create something out of it and make something that no one ever thought could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, just to name a few, the airplane, the car, the computer. No one ever thought we could make these things.
Yeah.
And that's what makes America unique is like we've had the internet, we've had people who
Right.
were able to.
But what is modern school doing? I feel like it's putting everybody in boxes.
100%.
You know?
And that's not to say I didn't get any good things out of school.
Yeah.
Some of my best lessons in school were when the teacher's like, all right, fuck this subject. I'm going to talk to you guys about real life right now.
Yeah.
And then,
I think one of the best classes hands down the best class I had actually was just our senior project. Senior project, you choose what you want to do and then you do it with a group of people. Like it's just like real life. So we coded an app, right? We coded this app up.
is this in college?
It was in college, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so I think they should apply that. This should be every single year of school. This should be 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and senior. Every year you've got a senior project class the entire year, and it's a different type of project. So like one project you're working on, it's like, you're creating a website and you're trying to grow a business or something like that. So that's your business school. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is like, okay, you're starting a history website, or you're going to write a history book as a group of students, or you're going to create an album. You're going to do a music album. So that's your project, and you're going to be really good by one semester. At least you're really good at one thing, like music or history. Like you put a lot of effort into that. You all got together and chose together what you wanted to do. Something like that. It can't be this just like we're cramming, information at kids these days and telling them to sit in a seat and memorize.
500 different vocabulary words, get it all right on a test, and then forget most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You cram it all in, and then you dump it all out, and then you just, that's how I did every single test. It was just, it was terrible.
Yeah, me too.
Terrible. I'd be cramming within minutes before the test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the second, if I could only keep it in my mind for the next 30 minutes while I take the test.
The papers and it's out of your mind. Though.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and of course you want to get it out of your mind because it's holding back other things that you want to think about.
Yeah.
As soon as you get off, it's like, dude, even when I'm at work, like I love what I do, but as soon as I'm off work, I'm like,
you're out of
getting
there.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what I want to do, podcasting, whatever.
Right. So, I mean, why couldn't it be one of your classes is you do a podcast and then you all, like one person learns to be a video editor during that class. One person learns to be public speaking.
Right.
That's a public speaking class and a video editing class and a stage setup class, like you work on lights and stage props and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are real life skills. So you can get out of school and you go work at the movie studios, or public speaking, you become an actor or anything in that case, like public speaking comes in handy everywhere, that should be that's a mandatory, like not just your standard public speaking where it's like do a project now, stand in front of the class,
Yeah. People learn most when they're interested in something and
absolutely, and they're doing something interesting,
and they want to keep learning more and more about it.
Yeah,
and they can't go to sleep at night.
Do you think it's school? Do you think school is too big? That's why they can't change fast enough. They're not changing with the times. Like it's too big of an institution, or do you think there's some, somebody doesn't want it to change? I mean, why? It seems like it's not changing at all.
For that.
Yeah, it just seems like to me, it seems like it's not changing at all. Technology has changed so much. The world has changed so much in the last 50 years, even in the last 100 years. But I don't think school has changed. And, much since the 1950s. It's still you go, your teacher, if anything, it's gotten worse. It's degrading, The teachers are getting, paid less, and it's not
They're teaching about real things that have been studied and documented and put in a textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, something about it needs to change. I mean, people should be coming out like the problem isn't that you haven't gone to enough school. Like they're just like, oh, you don't know what to do when you get out of high school? Go to more school. No. Fix the high school so that people are coming out ready to go.
Right.
Don't just send them to more. Like, what are we going to do next? Like, everyone's got to get a PhD to work, and then everyone's got to go to school for 20 years after that? Because, like, things are getting more and more complicated.
Right.
So you better change the curriculum. I did it with my nephew. I started teaching him more advanced math. He picks it up no problem. He picks it up no problem. He can do geometry and trigonometry. He's 10. It's not hard for, you know what I mean? Like why they're spending so much time on like multiplicating, like overcomplicating it. Yeah,
I feel like you would have a better understanding of the school system than I would at this point.
I mean, you went there. It didn't hold your attention. It didn't hold your attention.
Mine?
I mean...
No. Yeah. I had a lot of difficulty with school growing up, and my family was very school-oriented. So, I worked really hard, and I got really good grades, and I worked really, really hard in school. And I always thought in the back of my head, why the fuck am I doing this? Not always, but as I got a little bit more mature and I was able to assess years of my life, I got to that point. I was just like, why am I learning this? And I have to think that sometimes parents probably feel a little helpless. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're just learning it because you got to learn it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to keep moving. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
And I never really understood the point of it. It was
And I think it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I mean, it was pretty bad for me. It was bad for you. My 10-year-old nephew's coming home and he's saying, I hate school.
yeah.
He hates it.
Yeah.
He's 10. Oh my God. Can you imagine if you were 10 and you had hated your life every day? God, that's really early to start hating life.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, by the time you're 30, it's pretty, you know, if you haven't hated life for 1 year, then, you know, if you haven't had at least one shitty year, you know.
I don't think I hated life more than when I was in school.
Totally.
I had some really dark times
Totally.
in school.
Yeah.